So our final how might we became, how might we make sure Black people have the access, skills and confidence to get into tech? We also felt the need to specify what we meant by that. And just to give you an overview, access and skills is about being aware of how things work, roles available, being able to find a truly inclusive scheme which gives you the right tools to find the right opportunity. Confidence is everything from support system representation to well-being. So early on, we created some personas based on our research. We continue to coming back to them and split them into our main themes to ensure we had clarity on who our users are and to ensure whatever our solution was, they would be receiving a personalised stroke support information rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. And now pass on to Richard.
So yeah, we looked at the Manchester digital strategy, like we just told, and that was a bit also to understand what else is out there, where does our solution fit, what is needed, and we looked at the Manchester because obviously we've been based in Manchester, but looking at any council, they have a digital strategy like this. So smart people is a part of that strategy and is about making sure that all residents have the access to skills, training and employment opportunities they need to fully participate and enjoy the life of the city. And again, it highlights the themes, the lack of diversity in talent attraction, the need to develop and strengthen a volume of pathways into the industry, and a need to ensure opportunities are attractive and accessible to everyone. So we started thinking, what does a good service look like? And we didn't want it to create something that is just another thing. There's plenty of things already out there. And so we kind of looked at the 15 principles of good service design by Will Dawn, and also the GDS, the service manual, and in particular these 3 points you see on the screen. The idea of solving a whole problem for users and providing a joined-up experience across all channels. And to do that, to solve a whole problem and a joined-up experience, we need to start thinking in systems. And thinking in systems requires a shift in our perception, because systems are way more complex than we think them to be, and they have a life of their own. So you think you're going to do something and it's a positive step, and it has the opposite effect of what you're trying to do. And so we did this visual representation of the system to understand the intervention points, the dynamics, what were the missing links. So ideally, this is what the system should look like. It's not, there's broken links in here. And so yeah, in the coming yellows, you can see the actors, the enablers and inhibitors that we already knew from research, and others that were kind of become up from our own research and just from doing the systems mapping. So then we also were thinking, like, actually we want our solution to be a digital solution, but we understand the need for it to have a digital access point and a non-digital access point. And from our system mapping, we realized actually what is missing in here is the interconnectedness between all of these actors and all these different enablers. So our database is in the middle of our framework, and it's supported by innovation and technology, collaboration across stakeholders, and community and engagement. And it's the idea that, you need to go where people are, you need to meet them where they are in their journey and give them what they need to prosper. So this is how it will be all connected. Our digital solution, the database, is an interactive platform which provides access, skills, and confidence to empower Black people to get into tech. They start by answering a few questions and are giving a personalized plan to support them wherever they are in their journey. So they can explore courses available, they can see simplifiable descriptions, they can join the forum with other users, they can chat to a member of the team. It's the idea that there's too many options right now, and that's great. We all want the freedom of choice, but too many options is also overwhelming. And if you've been in our booth before, you kind of saw, like, for example, Gov UK has a list of boot camps now, but it's just a list. Like, I don't particularly like a list, it doesn't help me make a decision. That's all. Like, it's great for to listen, but that's it. So we did some journey mapping. This is a part of our user journey. It's part of our bigger service mapping, and it's just kind of to understand how does our user interact with it. but also how it interacts with the other themes that my colleagues are going to be talking about, so representation and recruitment. So for example, for a user, one of our users was lacking access, skills, and confidence. This is what the platform could suggest to them. It will start by introducing them to roles, ways of working in the tech industry to help them decide what is the right role for them. Connect them with support, other users and relevant stakeholders. That could be like events, it could be people in the same situation, it could be a mentor, and then get them on the right learning opportunity.
So after doing this, we decided to kick off wireframing. And we did this by doing like hand-drawn renderings and then picking elements out of all of them to create this. So you would start with the home page and move on to the information page, have a questionnaire, and then this would be like a personalized resources page. It was important for us to start here before we committed to building something, because it was just like the right decision for us to make. And as we were doing the wireframing and prototyping, we found that although we didn't actually plan to do content design, that it was something that came naturally. And then we decided that this would actually make the prototype more purposeful when we wanted to test it with users. So then going on to usability testing, our aims were to validate our design solution, to ensure that it was easy to navigate, and then also to ensure that the needs of the user were addressed. We referred to the service manual and standards, and after doing this, we were able to start. So we asked participants to think aloud when they reviewed our solution, and then we asked them questions specifically to clarify what their needs were. And this is the feedback. So all participants felt like it was straightforward and easy to use, and they also found the content informative. And then the general consensus was that the aim of the website was to help Black people get into tech. Additional research was for improving our solution. So this meant we would work on this feedback. So participants felt like it was too much information, that it wasn't clear that there'd be a questionnaire that you had to do, and that the layout could be improved. So wanting the way that we were working to remain user-centered, we used that feedback to improve our wireframe, which will be seen in the animation. So we kind of clustered the feedback seen on the previous screen and decided to focus on reducing information and making it more clear that there was a questionnaire. Okay, so with this solution, we spent time transitioning through the define and develop stages of the double diamond. Because we wanted to ensure that we were making the right thing and that we were also making it right. So here you can see this is what we've added on the basis of feedback that we've received. We're certain that this is an appropriate start to kind of addressing the systematic issue of the barrier of being a lack of exposure for Black people getting into tech. And that with the integration of services that will be provided by team representation and recruitment by us, that this will arm Black people with access, skills, and confidence so that they can get into tech. And then we also put an emphasis on community engagement and empowerment so that we reach the users where they want to be reached, and again, integrate services.
That's it. There's so much funding to support people with digital skills at the moment, but we don't understand why people, you can't find those participants.
Yeah, so this is just a summary. And then to end the presentation, we kind of just wanted to put this in because we were constantly referring to the service standard, trying to make the service simple to use, making sure that everyone can use it, having a multidisciplinary team. So we all had roles that we switched over and had a taste of all of them, and that communicated all throughout our process. And then the agile ways of working, which was how we started the work, how we continued working, and how we ended it. So thank you so much for coming to our presentation. It's been a delight. Happy to take questions.
Sorry, everything has to go in their family business.
Questions?
Don't be shy,
Neil?
because they aren't.
I love that. I love the way you've explained how you worked through it and what you came up with. One thing that stuck out was I love the systems thinking, the idea of how complex it all is. Was that useful to come back to? It looks like the kind of thing you've drawn and it makes sense. And then when you come back to it, there's too many lines. How did you find working with that over time?
What I say? It's like when it started, like as much as we drawn in it, it became more and more complicated. But it was clear from the start, like some of these lines exist and some of these lines don't exist because people are not being reached in a way. So like, for example, what I was speaking about the funding, there is loads of funding at the moment for digital skills because people have highlighted there's going to be a skill shortage. There's loads of jobs that in 10 years are not going to exist anymore. And there's all these courses, there's loads of skills providers, like but people are not getting the opportunities. And is that because they don't know about it? Is it because the opportunities are not right? Because they are funded, but you need to be unemployed or you need to be on universal credit, but then it's like actually a lot of these people have jobs and they work full-time jobs and they can't just stop working those full-time jobs. The circumstances don't work for them. So I think, looking at this is a bit complicated, and that's why we then did the journey mapping to make it a bit more digestible. And then if you have a chance, like if you go to our booth and see the full service mapping, you see the user journey and how it connects to actually our service, which point they interact, what happens before that. At this point, I forgot what was your question. I answered it.
I think that's a pretty good answer.
Okay. We've got time for one more question.
There's two. Sorry, you on the left, go first, please.
So did you work out the cost for the platform and what's the model for it being sustainable? Is it going to be a not-for-profit or would you be receiving income from private sector organisations?
That's an excellent question. We didn't consider the costs of the platform. However, we feel that because there's already like lists of like boot camps from the Gov website, like we would kind of use that, which would minimize costs because it's already information that's out there. The second half of your question, we'll go to Rosa.
I think, for example, like some of the funding will obviously like the same with the diversity for operating, like some of those partnerships and making people see the value. We know that diverse talents, is a win-win situation, because people create products that are good for society, and like diverse thinking is just, there's always benefits to it. So it's the idea that then like actually the companies that are hiring talents and that need this, like they're going to end up, they will see the value in finance. It's just about having a really good salesperson that, is like a dog with a bone. But also it's like there's loads of funding out there, like I said, for digital skills, but also there's a lot of funding pots for like community engagement that we could apply to finance that community engagement aspect of it. Then it's just connecting it, like for example, like with charities and organizations, it's about doing like joined up funding bits. For the platform itself, it's not something we consider, but we would hopefully at this point hire a team, with the technical side and the back end side that, we'll leave that to the specialists as well.
I was going to check there and say that the purpose of like all of it is to get into practice and to do this process and learn this process. It's not really about taking the ideas and making them bigger at the moment. So I'll stick to the process.
Can we take one more quick question?
Give him a minute. Why did you decide to do a platform? What was your thought process to decide to go digital?
It was our strongest we did like the crazy eights, and out of all those ideas that we had, it was the strongest digital solution, because we initially had like lots of non-digital ones, and we felt like, based on our research as well, when we'd seen databases that already exist, that they just went up to scratch, so it would be a big improvement.
Yeah, and like if you actually see our user journey, like, oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
They're all just gonna have to deal with my thingy. Bear with me. I decided to interfere and now I'm suffering. There we go. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, this is our show and tell for Sprint 3. We are Team Tech Avengers. Our team members are Elias, Matilda, Carolina, and Umar. Today I'm covering our brief, our problem statement, recap of Sprint 1 and 2, and how might be statement, and rest of my team is covering all the Sprint 3. The brief given to us is the impact of tech on Black community, a research conducted by Diverse and Equal in December 2020. The main themes drawn from this qualitative research was the lack of exposure to tech industry, lack of representation, and recruitment bias. The project theme given to us is representation. The problem we are solving is because of lack of representation, tech places are not seen as a safe places. Now I'm sharing a code. We cannot be what we cannot see. In our Sprint 1, after desk research, we created our problem statements, and then we generated our how might we statement. After our how might we statements, our sprint and finished. Then we did retro and we did feedback separately and then we shared with our team. After retro, we realized we want to refine our how might we statement. So we plan to conduct more interviews with Black people. Then with the help of Dotmocracy, we redefined our final how might we statement. After that, we did crazy exercise, but we found our solution in value proposition canvas. Then our Sprint 2 ends. Then after retro and feedback for Sprint 2, we identified we have our 3 main priorities. These priorities are MVP, presentation, and sharing the workload. Thanks for listening. Now I invite Matilda to brief you further.
All right, thank you, Raja. My name is Matilda. Got a background in education. And I'm hoping to become a user experience researcher. Okay, right. So based on the feedback that we received, we felt that it was necessary to conduct another interview. So a bit of background about another Black woman who has considerable experience working in the tech sector. And what I'm going to show you now are the themes that we gained from the interview. So don't worry about that. I'm going to go about reading it. I'm going to go into a bit more detail very. Okay, right. So in terms of the themes, overall it's positive. So when I was actually doing a bit of research, I did a bit of digging, and I gained some key insights. So in terms of the pain points related to the woman's first job, it was negative, it was stressful, but there was sort of like a touch point in terms of actually it turned out to be a very rewarding experience because they learned from it as well. Positives in terms of their career, as you can see, some highlights from the career journey in terms of working in an agile environment, certifications, and they had more control in what they wanted to do in their workplace. And then moving on, strong theme, community, that definitely came out of there, as you can see from the quote. It helped them to keep their skills fresh and boosted their confidence. And also, what also I gained from that was also in terms of tools and resources. So what helped them during their career and what could have helped them at the start of their career as well. And that was useful. And then the final thing that was quite revealing was experiences as being a Black woman in the tech sector. So in those cases, only Black woman, only Black woman in some cases in there. But what was really strong was the fact that, as you can see from this quote, that it's about how you do the job rather than how you look. And that's very key, and that's a very important statement. And that links into like the theme of this interview, shining a light on the voices that are in the tech sector and also about representation as well. Okay, right. And this also helped to refine our MVP, which Carolina will now talk about. Okay.
Thank you, Matilda. So hi, my name is Carolina. I'm currently working in finance sector. I've got a background in finance and accounting. I'm looking to become an agile business analyst. Okay, so starting with where we finished at sprint number 2, you can see here our value proposition canvas. We were working through it because we wanted to find an answer. I'm going to take you back to our desk research. So our desk research is showing that 65% of tech workers are white and 80% of executive and senior roles also only belong to white workers. So we use this value proposition canvas to find a proposed solution and around customer values and methods. So you hear our value proposition statement. So it's a mentor-led peer study community that provides a safe space for Black people aspiring for career in tech sector. So now, after completing our value proposition canvas, we move to creating our user stories based on the personas that we created in sprint number 2. Well, due to time restraint, I will only walk you through Zola's story. So as you can see, Zola is a female. She's a young single mom. I'll show you the story. So when we were working on user stories, our main focus was on obviously our users and their needs, accessibility, and their learning style. We listed various acceptance criteria. I'm going to show you it on the next slide. Because we wanted to make sure that it's going to help our users to achieve their goals. Our user journey, by creating this user journey, it helped us to uncover the pain points, gain points, and identify opportunities. And we believe that Level Up will help Zola to achieve her goals by giving her skills, tools, support, and confidence that she needs. So, and based on the findings from our user stories, we used Moscow. You can see it on the board right now. Moscow method to establish a plan and priorities for release number 1. We used it to focus on the priority for the features. So you can see our musts, should, could, and won't have in this slide. Now I will pass on to my friend Ilias, who's going to walk you through our wireframes. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolina. Yeah, so I took that user journey, that user story, and that persona and created some wireframes.
So I'll show you. Yeah. So these are, we did 5 pages, but if you want a really good look at them, come over to our booth, have a look at the screen, you'll get a better idea. So this will give you just a little hint of what we were doing. I'll go on to the first screen. So the first screen, we wanted to make sure that people didn't feel overwhelmed when they came here. So the solution was a platform, it was a website. So all I was looking into the tech industry, comes across this website. So it's time to level up. It's empowering. It's getting people to say, this is time to make a change. And also there was information straight away on the first page that you could take in that wasn't in one format. So you had video, you had images, you could read more. There was different content that you could see. So you start to sign up, you go, right, I'm interested. You kind of click on. This shows you the process. You know what you're getting into. You know what the steps are going to be. So you're confident when you're doing this that you know what's going to be at the end of it. But if you're not sure where you want to go, you can always just kind of say, not ready yet. You can get a newsletter. It's not for you. And then still be kept in the loop of something you might be interested in. This is just a quick point, but if you're reading through this and you're like, this is, I don't know enough information about what I'm doing here, it would jump down and give you some more information as well. But yeah, have a look at the screen. Like I said, it might help you later on. It's really important to get to know people and know where they are on that journey and where they want to go. So this was a form to find out more about them, unlock what their achievements are, what their skills are, what their experiences are, what their interests are, so that we can match them to a study group. Because the whole aim was this, to match them to a study group so that they can empower them to learn more. It would be questions, but you could also skip questions again, giving you the user the power, empowering them to just empowering them along the journey. Then you get matched up. You've got a match, but it's not just a 1 to 7 or a 1 to 4. There's matches that might be really aligned, but might be something that we think, this might be interesting as well. So there's options for you to choose from there. Again, giving them the power to kind of choose what path they want to go down. And then if you clicked on choose a group, then you sign up and you go, right, I'm ready. And it tells you why you're signing up and what you've got yourself into now. And this is where we ask for more information if you want to create an account and if you want to read more. And then this button would, once you click on the accept, it would become clickable. And so finally, this is the page you signed up. You got to the study group page. This is where it all gets exciting. So Zola has now got her own little avatar. You've got the group name here. You can change your mission to be called whatever you want. You start owning it. Some quick guides. There's a video guide that you can do it as a document. And then it kind of hints at what you would, how you read this group. So there's tools that you might use in the industry. Yeah, you can find out more. And from there, that's over to Umar, who's going to tell you about the usability testing.
Thank you very much. My name is Umar. After the building our prototype, we move forward towards our user testing session. So initially, like 3 Black women, they participate in our user testing sessions. We received some of the positive feedbacks, and some of the feedbacks were very constructive. You can have a look on the feedbacks, and further down to this, we would like to expand our platform to wider communities and forum for the wider audience, networking events, one-to-one mentoring, and success stories. Looking at the overall overview, we have identified the ideas through the discovering, synthesizing, and analyzing information from the user stories and various sources, and work with the stakeholders to understand the goals and vision. We've been through the process of the build, measure, learn phase, and by the development of the wireframes and prototypes and iterations, we use agile methodologies to promote flexibilities, delivery of requirements, iterate change and improvements. Looking at this one, like overall, we have great challenges and great opportunities. We believe we have achieved our goals. Let me sum up in concern during the user testing session. one of the questions was, could you please describe the website mission? And the answer was, it's all about giving people a community kind of spirit, helping them and support them. This gives us a great opportunity of achievements, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I would like to share with you, and thank you very much, and we welcome any comments and questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the idea of that. I think that you could harness a lot of enthusiasm from people, and it's what people need to go and learn together. I saw some logos of things that exist already. Did you look at, do you just need a community and you can use lots of free learning resources that are out there already? Is that something you'd be able to tie together?
Yes, that's the idea we have. But we discovered that although there is a lot of different resources everywhere, when you are that person, when you're just trying to get into tech, it's not that easy. You need to be a person who's already in the industry to know where you need to go, or know who you need to speak to. And obviously what was important for us is to be able to have a mentor, because that's what is important at the beginning of the journey, and that's the information we got from the user research as well.
I think it's just an add on that was like, yeah, we wanted to make sure that there was less barriers to people getting into that industry. So one way of that was harnessing free tools and giving exposure to those free tools, and we would like to use that as a kind of a model to help people kind of skill themselves up.
Yeah, well, it's really easy to see how much you tapped into like kind of the community aspect, or like supporting each other in that journey, kind of finding them to say, yeah, I want to come and do that, like you thought being able to do that, which is really important, I think. And so my question is, how would people find out about this service? Like someone would want to get into that, like how would they find this platform and this community? What's your plan to promote it?
I'll answer that. As an initial MVP, like we actually discovered like we should go in the wider communities, in cafes, and like we should advertise our platform, and on the website as well. Like we can advertise through the different channels, LinkedIn, through Facebook, and some of the we also would like to go through the Snapchat or Instagram. So this is the ideas like we can. This is the actually at the moment we're not working on it. We're not worked on it. So we're gonna work in the future. We're gonna expand this platform like in the wider communities as well. So the like digital and non-community members, they can reach out to us.
And
Thank
also,
you.
sorry to add on that, job centers as well. We thought about job centers because those are the places that gather a lot of people who are trying to change their life.
And also, Zola was our persona. She was our user, so she was interested in the tech industry. She started finding out about it. So she had already a little bit of kind of interest in it. So hopefully we'll be tapping into those markets where she's already kind of got an interest, and then we'll help kind of signpost it to our kind of study group option.
The people you were targeting this would be people who know tech a little bit, or people who didn't know tech and want to get into it?
With MVP, we're looking for people who kind of maybe know a little bit. They are maybe not in the industry, but they have a little bit of knowledge. They know how to use a computer. Just because, as an MVP, this is our target, because we want to make sure that we're gonna increase their representation. Once we're going to get more people into tech, we're going to get more representation. There's going to be more people talking to each other, more people recommending each other, and that's how we're going to build a stronger community, and we're going to hopefully close the gap.
Just that, what are the people you've been talking to? Was there many that knew what types of roles they were in the industry?
That's the idea of the study groups, because this is the question. Like when they're filling the form, like, okay, these are the questions. Like they will direct you which study group would you like to go. So once you choose a study group, like you actually train for that, and that will decide your line and discipline. And answer to your first part of question, once like if the person is already in the tech industry, if he would like to, enhance his career, so like we have further like in the future development, like one-to-one mentoring with the industry experts. This is how they can expand their experience as well to progress in the tech industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Avengers.
Thank you. Just click forward the results to your deck. Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon. We are Team Equalizer. My name is Carolyn Zimba, and I have spent time as a continuous improvement assistant in the semiconductor manufacturing plant. My background is in office management, facilities management, and within the architectural industry as well. And I have a very big interest in wellness and coaching, and a little bit of a stint as an officer cadet within the British Territorial Army. And I'm an aspiring delivery manager.
Hello, everyone. I'm Olubumi Joyce Acheboye. I'm a recent MBA graduate from University of Northampton. My background is in research and development in food and agricultural sector. My research projects and also data analysis was a big part of my MBA program, and I'm currently aspiring to be a user researcher in tech.
Hi, everybody, with my little breaking voice. My name is Leia. I'm a textile artist and an author. I've just recently published an ebook. I also run my own creative business. My background is in journalism, and I've spent almost a decade teaching English as well. After that, I decided to pivot into visual merchandising in retail and styling. And now I am looking for a role in tech, and I'm drawn to content design because I feel like I can marry my skills and interest in design and writing with my passion for access and usability.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. My name is Stella Paul. I'm an aspiring user researcher. My background is working with children and family in the education, health, and social care sector. At the moment, I work for the NHS, so I look after children who has complex care needs. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so from the brief, we gather 3 insights. And because we are in the recruitment bias sector, and the first insight is that Black people are not getting into tech because of ethnic sounding name. And another reason is that hiring focus is mainly on top ranking institution, which most of the time is out of league of Black community. And the third one is job seekers are not getting feedback. So we define the problem statement as Black people are not getting into tech because of unconscious bias in hiring process. And how do we tackle this? So we define how might we statement as how might we assist recruiters to be unbiased toward candidates from the Black community and provide job seekers with constructive feedback. So the opportunity area that we find is actually out of the 6 stages of a job seeker's journey is in the application and selection stage. And in finding solutions to this problem of unconscious bias as a team, we come together and brainstorm using the Crazy 8 technique. And after that, we use effort versus impact matrix to streamline our ideas. And we use democracy to vote on the 3 best ideas to put forward. So, and to understand that, we had to define a persona, and we created two different persona initially. One is the candidate and one is the recruiter, so as to understand the journey, end-to-end journey of application stage. But I'll let my colleague talk us through the value proposition.
Thank you, Joyce. So we determined that the candidate was not the problem. So our focus was on the recruiter. And what we came up with was, so with that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to our value proposition. It's an access platform called Equalizer, and it's an access platform to level the playing field in recruitment. It focuses on anonymizing part of the recruitment process. For example, the removal of personal details such as a person's name, where they studied. And so it means that a recruiter is then only focused on the qualification and the skill set of the candidates. And so by the time they actually see them, they're very excited about this person because they've seen what they can do. And the key feature about this as well is that it removes that unconscious bias. And this is a B2B platform, and it can be embedded within a company's recruitment process. And anyone who sees the Equalizer logo is then able to see that as a mark of fairness and excellence. And from here, you can see we started off by working on a phone app digital platform. And what we did, we used this in our qualitative research in order to determine the features that a recruiter would actually find useful. So some of the highlights from our research were that they really loved the logo. They thought it represented equality when they saw it. They also loved that there was a signposted section for recruiters to log in, because they have used other well-known platforms where it's very difficult to actually log on. And they also highlighted having some useful information, for example, the immigration status, especially when it comes to things like remote roles, in order to make the process a little bit smoother further down the line. And also they love the fact that they could see the course and the grade and keep things nice and simple. We quickly realized also that we needed to pivot, because a phone app was not actually ideal for our target market, and we needed to move onto a web-based platform. And in terms of the phone part of it, that's something that we can work on further into the future, where we look at providing push notifications for the anti-bias education part of the platform, videos, audio, newsletters, and quick view CVs. But I'm going to let my colleague Leah talk you through our idea framework.
So thinking about the key features that would make Equalizer a successful platform that meets both our users' needs as well as that of the brief, we began by mapping out a wireframe by hand. And even at that stage, we were mindful to create with consideration for accessibility for all of our users, aiming to comply with the GDS service standard to ensure that the service would be, to make the service simple to use, and that everyone would be able to use it. So that meant that we need to test our service for usability. And that is when we decided to interview some people who actually had experience recruiting job candidates. So to develop the prototype, we opted to use Figma, and we used its interactivity feature so that we'd be able to carry out the usability testing. And the aim of the test was for Equalizer, the aim of the test for Equalizer was to receive feedback on its usability, as well as to measure user reactions and attitudes towards the platform itself. So this is our basic wireframe. And the video shows the different features that would be available to a recruiter navigating the platform. From the homepage, you can see that there's a brief message to explain the value proposition so that you understand what you're doing on there. And there are only two main areas, a learning database and a dashboard where the recruiters would be able to access all of their tools. So the learning database is a place where the recruiters can learn about all the different types of bias that exist, somewhere where they can access tools to interrogate their own bias and also understand how they can make they can take tangible steps to create a more equitable workplace. So to make it as accessible as possible, We included a variety of media. So there's a podcast where, if you prefer to listen, you can read articles, and we're hoping to be able to integrate some bionic reading for our neurodivergent readers. There are videos with closed captioning, and the pronunciation feature is where users can search by country how to pronounce people's names. So that will be quite a big one. There'll also be anti-bias workshops that will be accessible from there, where workplaces can book speakers and facilitators to help with that. And finally, we'll be offering a newsletter subscription so that people can continue their own learning on the go. In future sprints, we would look to develop the dashboard area, which will house the recruiters' tools, namely the live chat feature for engaging with job candidates, as well as the CV viewing area with, the equalizer anonymizer. My colleague Dolapo will now share more about the feedback that our prototype received.
Thank you, Villa. Yes, so after the usability testing, we got together to analyze how the users interact with the prototype, and we were able to identify common findings that the user highlights, such as generation of candidate ID. And one of the users said that it takes away bias beforehand and it makes it a bit equal, in the sense that the mere fact that you can only see an ID, not the person's name, reduces the biasness. And another key features in our prototype that the users highlight was that they loved the prototype and they interacted well with it, and they also loved the anti-bias workshop aspect. But they did ask a lot of questions, such as how would it work? How many people could it cater for in one section? The time scale, how much it's going to cost, if there's any pre-work needed before they could take part in the workshop, and how are we going to deliver it? Is it online or in person? And they also find the chat feature very useful, as well as the pronunciation guide. And they gave suggestions on how we could improve that if you have to put it in place. And one of the suggestions they gave was that we should give candidates the chance to personally record their name, and if possible, to put it onto a database, so that if anybody else comes in to talk to that candidate, they could go and learn how to pronounce their name, and then that way they reduce the unconscious bias. The next slide, please. So you're on the next slide. So we asked ourselves, how does this answers the brief? We believe that the platform answered the brief by anonymizing the candidate names and the schools they had sent, as well as keeping the chat anonymous before the interview, so that they can only chat through the candidate ID. And then we believe that having these three key features in our platform helps remove the unconscious bias in the early stage of the recruitment process. And they also find the feedback generator useful as well, but they did mention that recruiters needs to do a little bit more work in terms of giving feedback, and we felt it was necessary, and also that the candidates can also request feedback themselves. And in conclusion, we believe there is room for improvement, and if time permits us, further development could be added to the platform and the prototype, such as team building features, which will focus on skills and personalities of each candidate. And finally, the platform will level the playing field by providing a B2B platform for recruitment to assist recruiters to be unbiased towards candidates from the Black community and provide job seekers with constructive feedback. Thank you, everyone. Any questions, please?
Hello.
Great idea that you would help me with recruitment so much there. Have you got any thoughts about, because you have a pronunciation guide, which would be massively valuable to me, how would that work with it's anonymous, and then at some point I would need to learn how to produce the name, so I need to know the name. How would that sequence of events?
I'd like to answer that question. So we can't keep everything anonymous. At some point, the candidates' names and everything would be reviewed, and at that stage there won't be a no. So at that stage, the candidates know they are going through to the interview. So it's at that stage that the pronunciation guide would be of use.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great presentation. And I just have a question on the anonymous applications. I work for the council, and it's something that the council has kind of like taken a lead on to kind of work and reevaluate the recruitment process. So just behind it, I'm just thinking, what sort of research do you get to that point that we need to start implementing this? And how do you think recruiters worldwide or nationwide who just start with the UK, how will they, receive that and implement it?
Yeah. Do you want to take that, Lynn?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So we, after having interviewed our users, which were recruiters, we actually got the information from them directly that the anonymizer was a really useful feature that they would find helpful to use in their own practice. And so, yeah, that's where we got the idea from, where we knew that we were on that track. And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
So just how do you think it's going to be received? I know you've got obviously that in the set they will use it. Yeah. Do you think it will be? I know sometimes we talk before.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to say like?
Well, one of the things that came up when you think about lived experience is the idea that people have to change their name in order to actually be able to apply for a lot of jobs, and to be able to have someone actually pronounce your name in the first place, and that issue of, oh, okay, what's your name? And that becomes, it's such a simple thing, our name, but actually it's a big deal. But if you remove that part of it, then it's not a case of, if you hear a name like John Smith or Sarah Smith, it's very different from something like, Dolapo, or, my surname is Zimba. So it's like that thing of, you remove that whole idea of somebody associating a name with how they perceive a culture. And, the whole point is it's unconscious bias. So people don't even know, but if you remove that section out of it, then it's a case of, okay, I'm just really excited. This skill set and this person's amazing. Okay, cool. All right, now who is this person? And then that's where you kind of have that process. But a lot of people, before they even get to that, yes, it's a no for a lot of the time. So we're actually making sure that they get much further through the process. I guess being
a recruiter and seeing how candidates actually apply the systems, it's the time frame it will take, because recruitment is a very fast moving situation at this moment in time. So I think individuals putting some information into the system, i.e. their CV, there's going to be a lot of automation regards, one, that anonymizing it, and two, making sure there's personalization taken out of the CV. So the hirers, when they're seeing CVs, can not necessarily see where that individual comes through. So I can see where the talent, as in they've got the skills, but it's anonymized to say, even if it's female or male or black or white or whatever, what comes through the person meets a lot of criteria. I think you're saying is that at one point that system's going to say this person meets all the criteria. Then that person has to select him. Once they select him, then they will know.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand that. But yeah, I think it definitely needs to be some automation.
Yeah, there'll be, it deserves a lot more study.
I'll contribute to that. Yeah, in the beginning, it generates an ID for each candidate.
Yeah.
So at the end, once you've selected that candidate, it gives you the name. So at that point, you already have that. Because actually, during our usability study, we find out that recruiters tend to, without missing the candidate, tend to have a personal I'm looking for the word now, connection.
Yeah.
Once they see the CV, they have a personal connection. So that's what we are trying to remove in this case.
I think this is it. I think obviously anyone looking at the system is to have a, because as you mentioned, I think in the previous ones is the feedback. It's not necessarily the recruiter who's not giving the feedback. Sometimes it's the manager busy for whatever reason, doesn't give the feedback to the recruiter and then not give it back to you. So it's definitely a big thing to help. But yeah, no, it's a great idea. And there's definitely people out there trying to do something similar to it.
Congratulations, it's great. But first, I would have to be taken forward more on that it became a loan and not just a service, but obviously provide a conversations. Have you thought about how to support recruiters and hiring managers at the point of the interview? So you've taken out unconscious bias from an application, but how do you take it out at the stage of the interview?
That's why we said for these sprints, because we've got shorter period of time, about 6 weeks sprints, up to 2 weeks. So we could only address application and selection stage. But with our colleague who has worked on awareness and exposure, the whole thing can come in as well. So we can look into interview later, but for this point, we focus on application stage.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Brief and why in particular we focused on Black people, because I don't think I addressed it at the beginning. So the brief, the research was around barriers to entry for Black people in tech. It was off of the article that I wrote back in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, and we got funding to be able to do that research. And we focused on Black people specifically, and that's why I put the brief to the cohort, because Black people, when you look at the numbers and the stats, the data shows that we're kind of at the bottom of the pile for outcomes when it comes to pretty much anything. And so when race is the one special characteristics that intersects all special characteristics, we figure that if we can solve the problem for Black people of all intersections, Black women, Black people who are gay, Black people who are neurodiverse, then we fix it for everybody. And that's the reason why there's been such a focus on Black here. And so the solutions are absolutely amazing. This cohort is fabulous, but they've been working on this for 3 sprints, that's 6 weeks. We can't expect them to fix a societal issue in 6 weeks. They're good. They're good, but they're not that good. So this is just the beginning. The reason why we've done this is because not only do we want them to be great practitioners, we also want them to go into the workplace empathetic to the differences of people and some of the challenges that people face in the workplace. So it was really important to put that brief to them to make sure that they were thinking along those lines when they go and start working in public sector or wherever. They're thinking about everybody. They've already got that awareness that they're thinking about everybody, and that was the reason why we focused on, because I know people are probably sitting there, why are they only focusing on Black people? That's why. That's why. It's a beginning, because you cover Black people, you cover everybody, really and truly.